All right, so welcome everyone to my presentation about the gig economy and a subject that I am very interested in and very interested in talking about, and my company. So, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. This is one of our key core values at my company, and we'll get into why and how our founder chose this as part of really second, number two core value after raving fans, which I heard Ellie mention in her presentation as well. This is based or in conjunction with a book that I read called Drive that we'll get into. And then Raving Fans also is a fantastic book as a side note. And then also talking about why your company might want to tap into gig economy and even set up gig teams. So me, title is VP of Talent Acquisition, but I've been an IT recruiter for 25 years and just started the past year or so starting to speak and do presentations and such. So still getting used to some of this. And I did, so I've got a couple of articles on SourceCon that I wrote about gig economy. If anyone is interested, if you want more information. The um, the first one, autonomy, mastery, and purpose, navigating the gig economy, just a lot of statistics and trends towards why a lot of our elite and professional workers or skilled trades even are starting to move towards gig economy versus full-time FTE employment. And then continuing the journey, part two is really geared more for those who might be interested in setting themselves up or a company up for being a gigger. A lot of challenges, a lot of different roles, both for companies and the professional trying to break into this field. So, a couple of resources there for you. Let's see. Um, and I had a note here of a couple of some reasons that I am really interested in there. One, it makes sense for right now in our economy, and it's what a lot of the elite talent do want. So we've been working for about 18 months on setting up, we call it our all-star team, and it's their subject matter experts and their specified technical skill. So we'll have just three or four, like super high level, meaning super expensive. Like we've got the AI and the ML, but systems engineers and project managers and all different kinds of technical skills. So we will get into a little bit more about setting up teams like that because we've been there, we've done it. It is a little bit challenging, but worthwhile. So let's see. I want to see if this works. This is my first interactive poll I've put in one of these to see if it works. Can you guys see where it says to send the text or do the web?
We can, yep.
Okay. Um, if it works, are you personally interested in pursuing gig work, either part-time or full-time? And if it's working, we should get stats up here in real time. Oops, but I don't see anything changing.
We'll just give some time for people to throw in and I'll put the website right now in the chat.
Okay, and oh, okay. I was just going to, it didn't let me test it on myself, so I'm
No,
just,
you're good. People are coming through. I will put it in
okay,
there right
okay,
now.
all right. Um, let's see. And while you're doing that and while some of this is coming through, a couple of things that we're going to talk about is autonomy, mastery, and purpose, what truly motivates people and professionals today in the workforce. And it's not just money and promotions anymore. And I think a lot of us feel that. We've all been through, so many changes, working remote and wanting to do something with more purpose, more value to our lives, more flexibility, more control over our work. We want to improve our skills. We want to be learning. We want to work on meaningful projects. So this is a lot of what we'll talk about over the next few minutes. All right, so we'll just let that go, and Dan can keep an eye on it, or I can go back and we'll see. But right now, half the people here would be interested in some gig work. So here are just some stats, and I've got just two slides. And this is from a Team Stage is a project management company. They sell project management software, and usually Upwork is where I go to because they do have a report that they put out every year with just tons and pages of statistics about gig work, obviously, because that is their bread and butter. That is what they do. That is where a lot of freelancers go. But I came across the Team Stage one, and it was interesting. It had some good graphics to follow along with. So just a couple of trends to point out. So, and this does correlate with other reports and some statistics that I've seen, and I think even a couple other people had similar stats in there. Not I think I know in their presentations earlier today. So 63% of professionals they feel like gig work is more reliable than just having one employer. Um, our founder, Eric, because I'll mention him a couple times, um, he told us last week that he saw an article, and I didn't see the article, and so I didn't get into the meat of it, but he saw an article about overemployment. So if you are trying to have than one full-time job, and this guy had 12. So somehow, and he showed either it was tax stubs or pay stubs or something, but showed that he was juggling 12 jobs. And Eric said they were full-time jobs, but I just can't imagine. So let's see, 57% doing it more for extra money. Definitely makes sense. 46%, they want flexibility to create their own schedule and just tired of the 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 grind. And then 35% wanting a better work-life balance. And then the next slide here, hopefully you can see it. I couldn't stretch it out or make it any bigger. But you could probably find your industry on here. And I've always been IT and tech, and I was really surprised. I thought they would have been at the top because we have so many professionals that are giggers these days, and that were actually at the bottom. And then public sector number one. Pretty balanced though. All the median there, everything in the middle, pretty balanced. All right, so Drive. This is a book by Daniel Pink. It's the surprising truth about what motivates us. And this is where he really dives into human behavior in the workplace and why, and what motivates people to do their best work. And it's interesting to me because he cites several very interesting studies from around the world, some that he's come across, that he's read about, that he's conducted. So it's a really good experiment of showing how when people are thrown money or bonuses to complete projects or to complete their work or an assignment, they do less and they perform less or lesser than someone who's just giving a verbal motivation or some other kind of motivation, which seems counterintuitive. But over here on the right with these pictures, one example, one of the studies was called the candle problem. And it was interesting based on a German psychologist in the 1940s. So participants, they were given a candle, a box of thumbtacks, and some matches, and they are asked to attach the candle to a wall so when it's lit, it doesn't drip wax on the table. And then, so the solution is emptying the box of thumbtacks, using it as a candle holder, and tacking it to the wall. And what they found out was overwhelmingly, when the participants were offered money, they actually performed worse. And they conclude due to the pressures of the monetary reward, hindering their creativity. And cognitive or critical thinking skills. And so several of the studies throughout the book talk about this, which I think is interesting, which goes in line with autonomy, mastery, and purpose is what people are seem to be most interested in these days. So autonomy, the freedom to choose when, where, how, and what we work on. So we want to be able to choose our own projects where we're setting our schedule. It's leading to increased job satisfaction, increased productivity. I actually, it's been a few months ago now, but one of the people that I referenced in an article that I wrote was a military dad. He's transitioning out of the military into civilian life, and he has two young sons, and one is autistic that he was telling me about. And his whole purpose was finding gig work so that he could be super involved in his son's. The autistic community and the different things that he had. He was in a big metropolitan city where they have a lot of meetups and support groups, and he wanted to be very involved in that. So that's just one example of someone who is really, for personal reasons, very personal and genuine, heartfelt reasons, needed autonomy for when and where and how they worked. Then mastery. So this is the drive to improve and develop your skills. Everyone wants to be better. Gig workers tend to seek out projects that challenge them, where they can grow and learn. In tech, for example, most of the people that I interview, I do a lot. I was primarily software engineering for many, many years. And the good ones were involved in, coding boot camps or hackathons a lot of times if they're really passionate about what they're doing, and wanting to stay ahead, and would even do speaking events and do presentations and such. So being able to have gig work, you can do these kind of things on your own time, because it really is, probably a lot of us know, just for example, today, learning from this conference, that it's time consuming, and we need to be allotted the time to do this and not have that, sometimes not have the strict schedule or get the permission of management above us to take the time to be able to do these kind of things. So mastery is a big driving motivator for a lot of gig workers. And then purpose is the third one, doing work that matters. And so giggers, it sounds so funny to me. They find projects that align with their values and their personal goals, and they want to be more engaged, and they want to believe that their work is, I say they, but me too. I believe these things too. I want to do work that has a positive impact on something or someone, because of what I'm working on. I want it to have value. A quick example of a story, a personal story of a best friend. She was a shining star, multi-award winning TA executive in a Fortune 500 company, but not extremely talented and good at her job, but wasn't feeling fulfilled, or that her true purpose was being met. So after about a year of doing some things in the background, she did leave and launched her own company. So she is a 1099 gig worker now, and she's branding herself as not just a certified personal or life coach, but she's doing a lot of speaking events. She's been co-author of a few books, and just completely changed the trajectory of what she's doing. And she's more happy, her family is happier, her kids are happier. So that just speaks to the purpose and doing what aligns best with what's best for you and your family. And then why set up a gig team? Just three quick points to point out. So we've noticed in setting up our gig team that, when I first started posting for just freelance gig project type work, um, immediately it was very senior people, which is what I was targeting. That's what I wanted. So these kind of people tend to be very elite and attractive, and sometimes hard to come by, but it's a competitive market for this level of talent, definitely in IT and technology. So attracting elite talent, and then cost efficiency and scalability. Of course, not having the financial burdens of full-time employment, and having, scaling projects up and down. You're not having to deal with all of that and the layoffs and severance and all of that kind of thing. Pretty self-explanatory. And then market differentiation, just positioning your company as forward-thinking and inventive, and not, I guess my little image here is setting, they all blend, the logos, the companies all blend together, and you really want to stand out and differentiate yourself. And being open and to gig work and setting these kind of teams up within your company could be part of the first steps in that. Speaking of first steps, I'll just go through these quickly. So defining your goals and needs, of course. Why do we need the gig team? What kind of skill sets do we need? How are we going to utilize them? So getting all that mapped out is super important to know what you need to do. And then evaluating the workforce gaps. Where do you need to fill in, and how long are you going to need these people, and such. And then creating your gig work strategy. What we found out on the implementing communication and collaboration tools. So this was really important. We did end up setting up a Discord server and something like a Slack channel, anything like this, where all of the team can be in there. We have group meetings of our all-star team where they've all gotten to know each other. They can talk about their projects. They can collaborate. So the AI people, they love to talk about what they're working on to each other, with each other, or like the network engineers, the systems engineers, they all kind of flock to the like-minded, and they can chat and collaborate in the channels that we set up, which is pretty cool. Creating a gig worker database. We are in the midst of trying to do this and build one out right now. Most of us all know how to use tier sheets or hot lists, but that's kind of how I'm tracking them all right now still. But getting a proper gig or freelance worker database is a goal, and would be super helpful. And then this is a tricky one, setting up legal and compliance guidelines. Many of you might know, we definitely know and have found out, and have known of some lawsuits personally, of companies being sued for crossing the line. You're calling them 1099, you're not doing the taxes, you're not paying into the right systems, but based on what they're doing, how they're working, when they're working, the equipment they're working on, that's a W-2 employee. So you have to be very aware of the laws and how you're working with them, so that there is a definitive line between setting up a 1099 worker or corp to corp versus being full-time. And I write a lot about that in one of the articles on SourceCon, because there's a lot to it. Let's see. And then just very important also, promoting the gig work culture within your organization. So you want them to feel part of the organization, part of the team, even if they're coming in and out on, a 3-month project or a 6-month or a 30-day project, being, feeling as valued member of the team, and not just a contractor, because we do also employ many contractors, and it's disheartening to me when they call themselves, I'm just a contractor, I want to go full time. And so you got to work with that, and really promote the gig work culture. And then challenges, just some things to think about: integrating with the full-time employees, like I was just talking about, making them feel part, maintaining expectations and communication. And let's see, knowledge transfer and continuity. So, these people could be jumping in and out of projects at your company, and just making sure that expectations are set up for transitions, and when they leave, and the teams they're working with, not to cause chaos. Legal compliance issues again, and then building loyalty and commitment. So they might not be as loyal to your brand or your company. Not to say that is going to be the case, but they're not a full-time employee who's there for the long haul. So that is something, just a challenge to be aware of. So it's not just a shift in how we work, but a transformation in how we think about work when it comes to the gig economy. And again, there's so much more to talk about and to say about gig economy. The first time when I was first writing the SourceCon articles, I Googled, or I did on Amazon, over 400 books came up on gig economy. And while I did it again last night, I don't know what I changed in my search, but it was about 205 gig economy focused books came up. So there is a lot on the subject. It's not going away, it's growing. There are good ways, appropriate ways to set up a team. And it takes some digging into and asking questions. And feel free for sure to reach out to me if you want to talk about gig in more detail. This is a last poll question. How likely is you may or may not know, how likely is your organization to increase its reliance on gig workers in the next 3 years? Either very likely, and your company has been discussing it, using more freelance work, possibly uncertain, no discussions have been had. I have no interest at all in using freelancers or gig workers, or it doesn't apply to my company. So I'll leave that up there. Oh, the little text option went away. That's weird. Again, that's the first time I throw a live poll in here, so we'll see what happens there. And we'll come back there. And then this is me, so feel free to reach out for either further resources, or if you want to talk more gig, or even as a gigger yourself, if you want more information on how do I get set up appropriately, how do I brand and market, and how do I get myself out there and get business and such. I like talking both sides of it, from the company perspective and from the gigger perspective. And that is all for me.